Easy English Grammar, your step-by-step guide. Introduction. Hello and welcome to Easy English Grammar. Does thinking about grammar rules sometimes make you feel a bit worried? Have you ever felt confused when looking at English sentences, wondering why they are put together a certain way? If you answered yes to any of these, know that you are not alone. Many people find English grammar a little hard. But here's some very good news. It doesn't have to be. This book will make learning English grammar easy, clear, and maybe even fun. Many people think English grammar is a very big, hard mountain to climb. They believe it has confusing exceptions and many rules that are hard to remember. But what if we told you there's another way? Our main idea in this book is simple. Everyone can learn English grammar. Yes, you read that right. It's not just for people who are already good at languages. It's for anyone who wants to understand and speak English better. We think the secret is to focus on the basic parts, the most common ways sentences are made. You can understand and use English grammar correctly, and this book will show you how. So, what are these basic parts? We call them basic sentence patterns. Think of English sentences like buildings. You don't start building a house with the roof. You start with the strong base and the main parts, the walls. These main parts are what we call basic sentence patterns. They are the most common and important ways words are put together to make clear sentences in English. Or, you can think of them like simple recipes. Most good meals use just a few main foods and simple cooking steps. English sentences are like that. They use a few main patterns that are used over and over. Instead of trying to remember hundreds of small, confusing rules, we will learn a few main patterns. Once you understand these patterns, you will see how most sentences are just small changes of them. Learning these basic patterns gives you a strong start, like learning your ABCs before you can read a whole book. You will start to see how sentences are built, which makes it easier to understand what sounds right and what doesn't. For example, a very common pattern is just person/thing plus action. Think of sentences like birds fly or I eat. Another basic pattern is person/thing plus action plus what is acted upon, like in she reads a book or he likes pizza. We will look at these patterns and more in this book. Knowing the patterns is the first important step. But like learning to ride a bike or play music, you need to practice. That's why this book has many practice activities. These activities are not just tests. They are chances for you to use the patterns you learn. This practice will help you feel more sure of yourself and get better. We want you to start writing your own sentences using these patterns. Learning is also often easier and more fun when you have help. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask a teacher, a friend who speaks English well, or use online help. Asking for help is a good way to learn. This book is your main guide. But remember that talking with others and asking for answers are important parts of learning anything new. So, what will you get from this book? You will find a guide that goes step by step and focuses on the most important parts of English grammar. We made it to be clear and easy to use. It will help you feel more confident. This book is not about giving you many difficult rules or confusing words. It is about showing you a clear way to understand. Are you ready to make English grammar less confusing? Are you ready to build a strong base and feel more sure of your English skills? Let's start this journey together. Turn the page and let's start building your understanding of English grammar, one basic pattern at a time. Understanding basic grammar. Learning English grammar can feel like climbing a very tall mountain. There are many rules, exceptions, and tricky words. It's easy to feel like you will never reach the top. But what if the secret to climbing this mountain is not to remember every single rock and path? What if it's about understanding the first steps, the most important paths you need to take? Think about building with toy blocks. You don't start by trying to build a giant castle, do you? No, you start with the basic blocks. You learn how one block connects to another. You learn how to make a simple wall or a small tower. Once you understand how those basic blocks fit together, you can start building much bigger and more amazing things. You can create anything you imagine. English grammar is very much like that. It has its own set of basic blocks. These are the simple ways we put words together to make sentences. We call these basic sentence patterns. Instead of getting lost in all the complicated grammar rules you might have heard about, we will focus on these simple, strong building blocks. If you can understand and use these basic patterns, you will find that you can build almost any sentence you need and understand many more. It's like finding the skeleton of a sentence. Once you know the skeleton, you can add the muscles, skin, and clothes to make it complete. This way of learning removes the fear and makes grammar feel more manageable, like a fun puzzle rather than a scary test. Let's think about grammar like a recipe. A good recipe has a few main ingredients and a few clear steps. You need flour, eggs, and sugar for a cake, right? And you mix them in a certain order. If you miss an ingredient or do the steps wrong, the cake might not turn out well. English sentences are similar. They need certain ingredients, words that do specific jobs, and they need to be put together in a certain order. These basic ingredients and orders are what we call basic sentence patterns. They are the simplest, most common ways to make a complete thought in English. Imagine you want to tell someone something. You need to make sure they understand you clearly. The best way to do this is to use these basic sentence patterns. They are the clearest and most direct ways to express an idea. They are the foundation upon which all other sentences are built. So, what are these essential ingredients and steps for building an English sentence? The most important ingredients are usually the subject. This is who or what the sentence is about. It's the doer of the action or the thing being described. The verb. This is the action word or the state of being. It tells us what the subject is doing or what it is. When we put these two together, we often have the simplest possible complete sentence. Let's look at the absolute simplest ways to form a complete English sentence. The most basic pattern you can have is the subject-verb SV pattern. This means you have something that does something. Think about it. If I say birds fly, you know exactly what I mean. Birds is the subject. It's who or what the sentence is about. Fly is the verb. It's the action the birds are doing. This is a complete sentence. It has a subject and a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. It's like the most basic toy block. Here are a few more examples of this simple subject-verb pattern. Dogs bark. Subject, dogs, verb, bark. The sun shines. Subject, the sun, verb, shines. Children play. Subject, children, verb, play. He sleeps. Subject, he, verb, sleeps. She sings. Subject, she, verb, sings. See how simple that is. You have a noun or pronoun, the subject, and then a verb. That's it. This is the very first, most basic pattern. If you can recognize this pattern, you've already understood a huge part of how English sentences work. Now, sometimes the subject and verb need a little more information to make complete sense or to tell us what the action is happening to. This is where we introduce another important ingredient, the object. This is who or what receives the action of the verb. It's the receiver of the action. When we add an object to our subject-verb pattern, we get a new, very common pattern, subject-verb-object SVO. This is like adding another toy block to our simple wall to make it longer or more interesting. Let's take one of our earlier examples and add an object. We said dogs bark. That's SV. But what if the dog barks at something? Consider this sentence. The dog chased the ball. The dog is the subject. Chased is the verb, the action. The ball is the object. It's what the dog chased. This is a complete thought, and it follows the subject-verb-object pattern. The ball received the action of being chased. Here are more examples of the subject-verb-object pattern. Maria reads a book. Subject, Maria. Verb, reads. Object, a book. The cat caught a mouse. Subject, the cat. Verb, caught. Object, a mouse. I love pizza. Subject, I. Verb, love. Object, pizza. He built a house. Subject, he. Verb, built. Object, a house. They watched a movie. Subject, they. Verb, watched. Object, a movie. These two patterns, SV and SVO, are the absolute core of so many sentences in English. They are the most basic grammar patterns. If you can spot these, you're well on your way. Why do these basic patterns matter so much, especially if you find grammar difficult? Well, think back to our toy block analogy. If you only know how to connect 2 blocks SV or 3 blocks in a line SVO, you can still build a lot. You can make many different simple statements. Understanding these basic sentence structures helps someone who finds English grammar difficult in a few key ways. 1. It reduces the fear. Instead of seeing a huge, confusing jungle of grammar rules, you see a few clear paths. You know that most sentences are built on these simple foundations. This makes learning feel less overwhelming and more achievable. You can focus your energy on understanding these core patterns first, rather than trying to learn everything at once. 2. It builds confidence. When you can correctly identify or create a simple SV or SVO sentence, you feel a sense of accomplishment. This confidence is incredibly important. It encourages you to keep learning and trying. You realize, hey, I can do this. 3. It improves understanding. When you read or hear English, being able to quickly identify the subject and the verb helps you grasp the main idea of the sentence. Even if there are other words you don't understand, finding the core SV or SVO tells you who did what or what is what. This is the most important information. 4. It helps with speaking and writing. When you want to say or write something, starting with a clear SV or SVO pattern ensures that your message is understood. You don't have to worry about complex structures at first. You can start with a simple, correct sentence. As you get more comfortable, you can then learn how to add more details or combine these basic patterns. Let's think about this. If you see the sentence, the fluffy cat, which was sleeping on the warm rug, suddenly jumped and chased a tiny, fast mouse across the floor. Wow, that's a long sentence. It has many words. If you try to understand every single word and how it connects, it can be confusing. But if you look for the basic sentence patterns, you can find the main idea. What is the sentence really about? It's about the cat. That's the subject. What did the cat do? It jumped and chased. Those are the verbs. What did it chase? A mouse. That's the object. So the core of that long sentence is, the cat jumped and chased a mouse. SVO. All the other words add extra details. What kind of cat? Where it was sleeping. What kind of mouse? Where it chased it. But the main action, the main story, is in that simple SEO structure. By focusing on these basic patterns, you are learning the skeleton of English sentences. These patterns are the essential parts that hold everything together. They are the most basic ways to build a complete thought. Subject-verb SV, who or what does something. Example, birds fly. Subject-verb-object SVO, who or what does something to whom or what. Example, Maria reads a book. These might seem very simple, almost too simple, but remember our toy blocks. You start with the simple blocks. Mastering these basic patterns is the first and most important step. It's the foundation. Once you have a strong foundation, you can build anything. You can add more details, more actions, and connect ideas. But without this strong, simple foundation, building anything complex becomes very difficult and shaky. So, how does understanding these basic sentence structures help someone who finds English grammar difficult? It helps by breaking down the overwhelming task of learning grammar into small, manageable pieces. It shifts the focus from remembering endless rules to understanding how sentences are fundamentally put together. It's like learning the alphabet before trying to write a novel. You learn the basic sounds and letters, and then you can start forming words, then sentences, and eventually stories. The basic sentence patterns are our alphabet for sentence building. They are the core structures that make English communication possible. By recognizing and using them, you are not just learning grammar, you are learning to communicate effectively. You are building the confidence and the skills to express yourself clearly and understand others. Now that we've seen how simple sentences are built, we will explore how these basic patterns can be expanded and combined to create more complex and interesting sentences. We will see how those extra toy blocks can be added to make our structures even more amazing. Making grammar simple. Learning English grammar can feel like trying to put together a big puzzle with missing pieces. Many people feel worried when they think about grammar. They remember confusing rules from school, or they don't understand why sentences sound wrong even if they can't say why. It's easy to think grammar is a secret code only some people know. But what if this puzzle isn't as big or as scary as it seems? What if, instead of learning every rule at once, we could focus on the simple, strong parts that hold all English sentences together? That's what we will do. We will make grammar simple, bit by bit. Let's start with feeling overwhelmed. Think about Maria. Maria is a smart young woman who moved to a country where people speak English for her job. She was happy about her new life, but the language was always a worry. In meetings, she was afraid to speak, scared of making a mistake. When she read emails, she often had to look up words, but the way the sentences were put together sometimes made the whole message confusing. She felt like she was always fighting against a strong river and grammar was the biggest wave. She tried reading grammar books, but they had words like participles, gerunds, and subjunctive mood. It all felt too hard, like trying to learn how to build a house by first remembering the names of every single nail. Maria started to think maybe she wasn't good at languages. Does this sound familiar? This feeling of being lost in many rules is very common. It stops many people from speaking and writing with confidence. But the truth is, the problem is usually not with you. The problem is often with how grammar is taught. We are often shown a huge, difficult picture and told to understand it all at once. What if we could take that picture and break it into just a few basic shapes? This is where our journey starts. We will focus on something called basic grammar patterns. These are the simple, main structures that almost every English sentence is built on. Think of them as the basic Lego bricks of sentences. You don't need to know how to build a castle right away. You just need to know how to join a few basic bricks to make a small wall. Once you know how to make a small wall, you can make a bigger wall, then a tower, and finally, a whole castle. The same idea works for English sentences. Instead of getting lost in many complex rules, we will learn to see and use a few simple sentence patterns. This way is meant to take away fear. It's about building understanding from the start, making grammar feel easy and even fun. Let's think about how we learn other things. Imagine learning to cook. You don't start by trying to make a fancy, many-course meal. You start with simple recipes. Maybe you learn how to boil an egg, or how to make a simple salad. You learn the basic foods: salt, pepper, oil, vinegar. You learn basic ways to prepare food: cutting, mixing, heating. As you get comfortable with these basics, you can start putting them together. You learn how to make a simple dressing, then how to add chicken or fish to your salad. Soon, you can make more complex dishes. Grammar is very similar. The basic grammar patterns are your basic foods and ways to prepare them. They are the main structures that let you build many sentences. Think about building with Lego, which many people enjoy. You have a big box of colorful bricks. If someone just threw all the bricks on the floor and said, "Build a spaceship," it would be too much. Where would you even begin? But if someone showed you how to connect two small bricks, then how to add a third brick to make a line, and then how to stack those lines to make a small square, you would start to see a way. You would learn that certain shapes fit together easily. You would learn how to build a strong bottom. Before you know it, you are not just stacking bricks. You are making something. You are building. English grammar is like that. These basic patterns are the simple ways we connect words to make meaning. They are the two bricks connecting of language. Once you see these basic connections, the rest of the sentence structure starts to make sense. So, what are these basic patterns? We will look at them closely soon, but for now, let's just get the idea. Many sentences in English follow a pattern like, someone does something, or someone does something to someone or something else. These are very simple ideas. For example, birds fly. That is a complete sentence. It has a subject, birds, and a verb, fly. It follows a basic pattern. Or the cat chased the mouse. Here we have a subject, the cat, a verb, chased, and an object, the mouse. This is another very common pattern. These simple structures are the base. Most of the sentences you hear and read every day are different versions or combinations of these basic patterns. We will not ignore the more difficult parts of English grammar, but we will build our understanding on this strong, simple base. It's like learning to walk before you try to run a long race. Why is focusing on these patterns so helpful? Because it means you have fewer things to remember at one time. Instead of trying to memorize hundreds of rules, you are learning a few main structures. And the way to make these patterns stick is to practice. Lots and lots of practice. Just like a musician practices notes to make their fingers strong and play music well, or an athlete practices movements to get better at their sport, we will practice using these basic grammar patterns. We will see them used, we will use them in our own sentences, and we will get comfortable with them. Doing this over and over is not boring, it gives you power. Each time you use a pattern correctly, your confidence grows. You start to feel what sounds right, not just remember a rule. Think back to Maria. She was still having trouble with emails and meetings. One day, her coworker, David, saw her looking upset at her computer. David was a kind man who had learned English as a second language himself many years ago. He sat down with her. "What's wrong, Maria?" he asked nicely. Maria sighed. "This email," she said, pointing to the screen. "I know the words, but I don't understand the meaning. It's all so mixed up." David smiled. Grammar," he said. "Don't worry. It's like building a house. You don't need to know how to build the roof before you've built the walls." Let's look at the basic structure of this sentence. He pointed to the main subject and verb. This is the main part. Everything else just adds more information. He showed her how the sentence followed a simple subject-verb-object pattern. Then he showed her another sentence that added more information, but still used the same main pattern underneath. Maria listened, really listened. For the first time, she saw a sentence not as a confusing line of words, but as a structure with a clear middle. David didn't give her too many rules. He showed her the basic pattern. This is the main idea of how we will work in this book. We will make English grammar easy to understand. We will show you that under all the difficult parts, there are simple, logical patterns. These basic grammar patterns are where you start. They are the building blocks. By understanding and practicing these main structures, you will find that you can build your own sentences with more confidence and correctness. You will start to see English grammar not as a scary thing, but as a helpful tool. A tool that you can learn to use well. This understanding is the first, most important step. It's the step that changes fear into wanting to know and confusion into understanding. And it's the step that leads us directly to looking at these basic patterns more closely, so you can start building your own strong sentences right away. 3. Handling tricky grammar rules. Learning English can feel like trying to untangle a big ball of yarn sometimes. Words like affect and effect, or knowing when to use its and its, can make us stop and wonder if we'll ever get them right. It's easy to feel a bit confused or even worried when these tricky rules show up. But here's a little secret. Most of these tricky rules are not really new rules. They are often just small changes or different ways of using the basic sentence patterns we already know. Think of it like building with toy blocks. You know how to put a few blocks together to make a simple tower. Tricky grammar rules are often just about adding a few more blocks in a special way, or using a slightly different shaped block, but the main way you connect them stays the same. Let's imagine a new friend, Maria. Maria is very happy to write emails to her family back home. She knows English well, but she gets a little mixed up when she tries to write. One day she wants to tell her sister about a new job. She writes, "The new job will affect my life a lot." She also wants to say that the company is looking for new workers. She writes, "The company is looking for their new workers." And then, she tries to say the company is proud of its success. It's a great success. When her sister reads these emails, she understands Maria, but she gently points out the small mistakes. Maria feels a little sad. She thinks, "Oh no, grammar is so hard." She feels like these rules are just random things she has to memorize. This is where understanding our basic sentence shapes really helps. Remember, these shapes are the main parts of sentences. For example, we know a simple sentence often follows a who/what plus does what plus to whom/what shape. Maria writes emails. Who, Maria, does what, writes, to what, emails. Even when sentences get longer or more complicated, this basic shape is often still there underneath. Let's look at Maria's mistakes and see how understanding the why behind the rule and breaking it down can help. 1. Affect vs. Effect. Maria wrote, "The new job will affect my life a lot." The tricky part here is that these two words sound so similar, and they are related in meaning, but they do different jobs in a sentence. The why. The reason we use different words is because one is usually an action, a verb, and the other is a result, a noun. In English, we often have different words for actions and the results of those actions. Think of act an action and action the result of acting. The simple rule. Affect with an A is almost always an action word, a verb. It means to change or influence something. It's what something does. Effect with an E is almost always a thing word, a noun. It means the result or outcome of a change. It's what happens. Connecting to basic shapes, in Maria's sentence, "The new job will my life a lot," we need a word that shows what the job does to her life. It's an action word, so we need a verb. The verb is affect. Sentence shape. Subject, the new job plus helping word will plus action word affect plus what it affects my life. Corrected. The new job will affect my life a lot. A quick fix/memory aid. A simple way to remember is to think. Effect is an action. Effect is the end result. Or, think of cause and result. Effect is like the cause, and effect is like the result. 2. There, and there. Maria wrote, "The company is looking for their new workers." This is a very common confusion. These three words sound exactly the same, but they mean completely different things and are used in different ways. The why. English has many words that sound alike but have different spellings and meanings. This happens because old words changed over time. We have to learn the specific job each word does. The simple rules. They're with here and it usually talks about a place. It's like saying over there. It can also be used to start a sentence like there is a cat. There with air in it, like someone who gets something shows owning. It means belonging to them. It tells us who something is. There is a short word. It's a quick way of saying they are. The little mark takes the place of the missing letter from are. Connecting to basic shapes, Maria's sentence is about whose workers the company is looking for. It's about owning. So, we need the word that shows owning. That word is there. Sentence shape, subject the company plus action is looking for plus owning word there plus what they own new. Workers. Corrected. The company is looking for their new workers. Quick fixes / memory aids. There, think of the word here. Here and there both talk about places. So there is for places. There, think of air. An air has things. The shows who has the things. It shows owning. There, the little mark is a clue. It means two words have been squished together. If you can say they are and it makes sense, use there. The company is looking for their new workers. No, that doesn't make sense. But the workers are new. So they're new workers. 3. It's vs. It's, Maria wrote, it's a great success. This is another common one, like there / there because it involves owning versus a short word. The why. English has a special rule for showing owning with words like it. Most owning words don't use a little mark like his, her, our, your. It follows this rule. However, we also use little marks for short words and its is one of them. The simple rules. Its no little mark is the owning form of it. It means belonging to it. Its with a little mark is a short word for it is or it has. Connecting to basic shapes. In Maria's sentence, a great success, she wants to say it is a great success. She needs the short word that means it is. Sentence shape. Short word it's plus what it is a great success. Corrected. It's a great success. Quick fixes / memory aids. If you can replace the word with it is or it has, use its with the little mark. If you are talking about something belonging to it like the dog wagged its tail, and it is or it has doesn't make sense, use its without the little mark. Breaking down big rules into smaller parts. Many tricky rules are tricky because they have a few different situations. The best way to handle them is to break them down, just like we did with their / there, and its / its. Let's take another example. Apostrophes for owning. This rule seems simple. Add an apostrophe and an s to show something belongs to someone. But what about when the owner is a group, or when the word is unusual? Part 1. Owning by one person / thing. The simplest form. Rule. For one person or thing, add s. Example. The book belongs to John. John's book. Basic shape. Owning word plus thing. Example. The tail belongs to the cat. The cat's tail. Part 2. Owning by a group ending in s rule. For a group of people or things that already ends in s, just add an apostrophe after the s. Example. The books belong to the students. Students is a group and ends in s. The students' books. Basic shape. owning group word plus thing. Example, the cars belong to the boys. Boys is a group and ends in s. The boys' cars. Part 3. Owning by a group not ending in s. Rule. For a group of people or things that doesn't end in s, unusual plurals add s just like with single owners. Example, the toys belong to the children. Children is a group but doesn't end in s. The children's toys. Basic shape, owning group word plus thing. Example, the advice belongs to the women. Women is a group but doesn't end in s. The women's advice. By breaking down the apostrophe rule into these 3 simple parts, it becomes much less confusing. You start with the easiest case one owner and build up. Focus on the why, not just the what. Understanding the reason behind a grammar rule makes it stick much better than just memorizing. Let's look at subject-verb agreement. Maria might wonder, why do we say he is happy, but they are happy? The why? This is all about number. One versus more than one. He is one person, one. They are more than one person, more than one. English verbs change their form to match whether the subject is one or more than one. This is a very common pattern in many languages. The simple rule. Single subjects usually take single verbs. Plural subjects usually take plural verbs. Connecting to basic shapes. Basic shape, subject plus verb. With single subject, he plus is. With plural subject, they plus are. The main shape subject plus verb is the same, but the form of the verb changes to match the number of the subject. Deeper understanding. Think about it like this. If you have 1 apple, you say this is an apple. If you have 2 apples, you say these are apples. The verb to be is, am, are, was, were is a very common verb that changes a lot to show one or more than one. Many other verbs have simpler changes, like adding an s for single subjects in the present tense. He walks, she talks. Common problems and quick fixes. Let's tackle a couple more common areas that cause trouble. 1. Then vs. Then. The why. Again. These sound the same but do different jobs. One is about time and the other is about comparing. The simple rules. Then usually refers to time or order. It tells you what happened after something else. Think of the word when. Then is used for comparing. It tells you one thing is different from another. Think of the word compare. Connecting to basic shapes. Time order. First, I ate breakfast. Then, I went to work. Sentence 1, then sentence 2 comparing, this apple is bigger than that orange. Thing plus verb plus quality plus comparing word plus thing. Quick fixes / memory aids. Then has a T like time. Use it for time. Then has an A like comparing. Use it for comparing. 2. Comma splices. This is when 2 complete sentences are joined together with only a comma. It's like trying to hold 2 strong ropes together with just 1 thin thread. The why. A comma is a pause. 2 full sentences need a stronger connection than just a pause. They need a joining word like and, but, so or to be separated into 2 separate sentences. The simple rules. Wrong comma splice. I love grammar, it is very interesting. 2 complete sentences. I love grammar. And it is very interesting. Right ways. 1. Use a period. I love grammar. It is very interesting. 2 separate sentences. 2. Use a comma and a joining word. I love grammar, and it is very interesting. Joining with an. 3. Use a semicolon. I love grammar. It is very interesting. A semicolon can join 2 closely related sentences. Connecting to basic shapes. Sentence 1, subject plus verb. Sentence 2, subject plus verb. A comma splice tries to link these 2 independent shapes with only a weak comma. We need to use stronger links. a period, or a comma with a joining word. Quick fixes / memory aids. Read your sentences aloud. If you naturally pause for a long time between two parts, and both parts could stand alone as a complete thought, you probably need a stronger connection than just a comma. Ask yourself, can I put a period here? If yes, then you likely have a comma splice. The big picture, confidence through understanding. Maria, after talking with her sister and looking at these rules, starts to feel better. She realizes that a fact and a fact are about action versus result. There, and there are about place, owning, and short words. It's and it's are about owning versus it is. The apostrophe rules are about one owner and groups of owners. Subject-verb agreement is about matching one and more than one. Then and then are about time versus comparing. Comma splices are about needing a stronger link between two full sentences. None of these are completely new ideas. They are all built upon the basic sentence shapes we've been exploring. They are variations, extensions, and specific ways of using those basic structures. When you see a tricky rule, try to ask, what is this rule trying to do? Show owning? Compare things? Show time? How does it connect to the basic subject-verb shape? Can I break it down into smaller, simpler parts? Is there a simple memory aid or a way to understand the reason behind it? By approaching these confusing rules with curiosity instead of fear, and by remembering that they are often just more detailed ways of using the simple shapes you already know, you can start to untangle them. You can build your confidence one rule at a time. Now that we've learned how to handle these tricky rules by breaking them down and understanding their logic, we can move on to using this knowledge to make our writing even clearer and more effective. Practice and get help. Learning English grammar can feel like building a house. You can look at pictures of nice houses, but you won't build one until you use tools. Grammar is the same. Knowing the basic sentence parts, like the foundation and walls, is important. But to make your house strong, you must build it many times. And if you don't know how to put something together, you should ask someone who knows. This part of our learning is about practicing and asking for help. These two things are like the best tools for grammar. They help you go from just knowing about sentences to using them well. Let's start with practice. Think about learning to ride a bike. You can read about balancing, pedaling, and steering. You can watch others ride, but you won't learn until you get on the bike, maybe wobble, and maybe fall. Your body needs to learn the moves. Your brain needs to connect what you do. Grammar is like this. The basic parts of sentences are the basic moves. We need to practice them to make them feel easy. Why is practice so important? Because it changes what you know into what you can do. When you first learn a basic sentence part, like person plus action, for example, birds fly, it might seem new. You understand it when you see it. But can you use it easily yourself? Can you quickly make your own sentences with it? That's where practice helps. Imagine learning to play a guitar. Your teacher shows you a chord. You see how their fingers move. You try to copy it. It sounds a bit strange at first, right? Your fingers might not reach, or you press too hard or not hard enough. You need to play that chord many times. You need to practice changing between chords. Slowly, your fingers get stronger. Your brain remembers the shape. The sound gets better. Soon, you can play the chord without thinking too much. Grammar practice works the same way. When you do exercises for basic sentence parts, you are giving your brain and your language skills a workout. These exercises are like your own grammar gym. What exercises are good for this grammar gym? Think about what helps build strength and coordination. Fill in the blanks. These are good for practicing parts of a sentence. For example, if we are learning person plus action plus thing like she reads a book, an exercise might give you sentences with a missing word. You choose the right word to finish the sentence correctly. This helps you know which words go where. Sentence reordering. Sometimes words are mixed up, and you have to put them in the right order to make a correct sentence. This is great for learning the natural order of English sentences. You learn where the person usually goes, where the action goes, and so on. It's like putting together a puzzle with words. Error correction. This is like being a detective. You get sentences with mistakes and you find and fix them. This helps you learn because you must think about the rules. You must see where a basic sentence part is wrong and fix it. For example, you might see he go to school and know the action word needs to match the person, so you fix it to he goes to school. Sentence building. You might get a person and an action and be asked to add a thing or a description to make a full sentence. Or you might get a list of words and have to make sentences using a certain pattern. This is like building with blocks. You have the basic pieces and learn to put them together to make something that makes sense. These exercises are not just busy work. They help you learn the basic sentence parts deeply. When you fill in a missing verb, you practice the person plus action link. When you reorder words, you practice the usual word order in English. When you fix a mistake, you learn the correct way to use a pattern. Each time you finish an exercise, you make that connection in your brain stronger. It becomes easier and faster to use that pattern correctly next time. It's like practicing a dance move until you can do it without thinking. The more you practice these basic parts, the more they become a natural part of how you speak and write. But what happens when you do these exercises or when you try to write or speak and you get stuck? What if you're not sure if I am going or I go is right? Or you can't remember if you should say an apple or an apple? This is where the second important tool comes in, asking for help. Many people feel shy about asking for help with grammar. They worry it makes them seem not smart or like they haven't been paying attention. I remember when I was learning a new language, I kept mixing up two words that sounded alike. I was too embarrassed to ask my teacher. I thought she would think I wasn't trying hard enough. But one day, I was so confused that I finally raised my hand. She smiled, explained the difference clearly with a few examples, and suddenly it made sense. That one small question, and the clear answer, helped me much more than staying confused and making the same mistake again and again. Asking for help is not a sign of being weak. It's a sign of being smart and wanting to learn. It means you are actively learning and want to do it right. Think about it. If you were building the house and had a question about making a joint strong, would you guess, or would you ask the experienced builder? You would ask. Grammar is the same. So, who can you ask for help? Your teacher or tutor. This is often the best person. They know how to explain grammar and understand what is hard for learners. Classmates or study partners. Sometimes, explaining something to someone else helps you understand it better. And your classmates might have the same question, or they might have found the answer and can share it. Working together can be very helpful. Friends or family who speak English well. If you have friends or family who know English grammar well, they can often give quick explanations or examples. Online groups and forums. There are many websites and groups where you can ask grammar questions and get answers from people who know English well. Just make sure the sources are good. When you ask for help, try to be specific. Instead of saying, "I don't understand grammar," which is too big a question, try to ask about one thing. For example, I'm not sure when to use is and when to use are. Can you give me examples for sentences about my friends? This focuses on matching the action word to the person. I read this sentence. Yesterday, I go to the park. Is that correct? I thought go should change. This points to a mistake in the action word based on time, related to a basic pattern. I'm confused about the difference between there, and there. Could you explain it simply? This asks about words that sound the same but have different meanings. The more specific your question, the easier it is for someone to give you a clear and helpful answer. They can then explain the specific basic sentence part you are having trouble with. And this leads to learning from mistakes. Mistakes are not the end. They show you where to focus your practice. When you make a mistake in an exercise, or when someone corrects something you said or wrote, it's a chance to learn. Don't feel sad. Instead, see it as a chance to learn. Think back to the guitar player. Every time they play a wrong note, they hear it. They know it's not right. They move their fingers. They try again. That wrong note helps them know where their fingers should be. In the same way, when you make a grammar mistake, and especially when you ask for help to understand why it was a mistake, you get useful information. Let's say you write a sentence like, "The cat sat on the mat." You might be practicing the person plus action part. Someone might say it should be sits because cat is one thing. Now you understand that for one person or thing like cat, he, she, it, the action word often needs an s at the end in the present time. This is a rule for the basic person plus action match. The mistake helped you learn a small detail of that pattern. If you had just guessed and gotten it right, you might not have learned the rule as well. The mistake and the explanation made the correct pattern stick in your mind. This process, practicing, having a problem, asking for help, and learning from the mistake, is how you truly understand and become fluent. It's not always a straight line. Sometimes you'll feel like you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That's normal. The important thing is to keep moving. So, how can you be most effective when you practice and ask for help? For practice, doing it often is more important than doing it for a long time all at once. It's better to do 10-15 minutes of grammar exercises every day than 2 hours once a month. Short, regular practice helps keep the information fresh and builds automatic responses. Try to find exercises that focus on the basic sentence parts we have talked about. If you just learned about person plus action plus description like the sky is blue, find exercises that let you practice that specific structure. This focused practice is like doing specific exercises for your arms at the gym. Instead of just running and hoping, your arms get stronger. When you ask for help, remember that the person helping you wants you to succeed. Be polite and thankful. If you don't understand their explanation, it's okay to say so. You could say, "Thank you, that helps a little. But could you explain the part about specific detail again? Or could you give me one more example sentence?" Most people are happy to explain things in a different way if it means you will understand. It's also helpful to keep a notebook. Write down the grammar points you find difficult, the questions you have, and the answers you get. When you get feedback on a mistake, write down the correct sentence and a short note about why it was wrong. This notebook becomes your own grammar guide, with ideas made just for you. You can look at it when you are unsure about something. Let's think about a personal example. I had trouble with the difference between past actions and present perfect actions. They both talk about the past, but in different ways. For example, I visited Paris past action versus I have visited Paris present perfect. I mixed them up all the time when I wrote. I tried reading the rules, but they seemed hard. So, I decided to practice. I found online exercises that tested this specific thing. I wrote sentences about my day yesterday, past action, and sentences about things I have done in my life present perfect. When I made mistakes, I didn't just move on. I stopped. I thought about the sentence. I asked myself, am I talking about a specific finish time, or an experience that connects to now? One day, I was talking to a friend who is a very good writer. I told her about my confusion. She didn't just give me the rules again. She said, Think of it like this. Past action is like a finished story. Yesterday, I ate pizza. The eating is done. Present perfect is like a story that connects the past to now. I have eaten pizza before. That experience of eating pizza is part of who I am now, or it might affect what I want to eat now. That simple way of explaining it worked for me. It wasn't just a rule. It was like a picture, a feeling. I practiced using her explanation. I wrote sentences and asked myself, is this a finished story or a story that connects to now? My mistakes became fewer. When I did make one, I'd go back to my notebook, look at my friend's explanation, and try to understand my mistake in that way. It took time and many practice sentences, but eventually, I felt much more confident using those action word times correctly. The practice built the habit, and asking for help gave me the clear understanding I needed. So, remember this. Understanding basic sentence parts is the first step, but truly mastering them comes from using them. Your practice exercises are your training ground. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. That's how you learn to get back up. And when you feel lost or unsure, ask for help. Asking for help is a smart choice, not a sign of failure. Every question you ask and every exercise you complete builds a stronger foundation for your English. You are not just learning rules, you are building a skill, and that takes doing. Conclusion: you made it to the end. Great job. You finished Easy English Grammar, your step-by-step guide. Give yourself a little clap on the back. Learning something new, especially something like grammar that can feel tricky, takes effort. You showed that effort. Remember when grammar seemed like a big, messy ball of rules? Maybe you felt lost with all the big words. But you figured it out. You took those hard ideas and made them simple. The main thing we learned in this book is to understand and use basic sentence builders. These are the simple, important ways we put words together to make sentences. They are the core of how we talk and write in English. By learning these main parts, you've built a strong base. Now English grammar is not so confusing. It's a clear and logical system. Think of basic sentence builders like the main parts of a house. They are the subject-verb-se and subject-verb-object SVO parts, and other simple ways we make sentences. They are not hard rules, but the most common ways we share our thoughts. It's like playing with toy blocks. You start with a few basic blocks, the basic builders. When you know how to put those blocks together, you can build anything, a small box, a big castle, or anything in between. In the same way, when you know the basic builders, you can make many sentences to share all sorts of ideas and feelings. When you see a new sentence, your brain can quickly see its main builder. This helps you understand what it means. When you want to write or speak, you can choose the right builder to make your message clear. These builders are not just for people who are new to English. They are in simple hellos and in big speeches. By knowing them, you have a tool that works for all English. This focus on basic sentence builders is why grammar doesn't have to be scary. It helps you see the main idea, not just all the small details. You've learned to see the whole picture. Learning English grammar is like running a long race, not a short dash. What you learned about basic sentence builders is your start. But practicing often will make you understand better and speak more smoothly. When you read things like stories, news, or even posts online, try to find the basic sentence builders being used. Ask yourself, what is the main way this sentence is built? Doing this will help you remember what you learned. When you write, whether it's an email, a diary, or a story, think about the builders you are using. Try using different builders to say your ideas in different ways. Pay attention to how people who speak English all the time build their sentences. Listen for the basic sentence builders you know when you hear people talk, listen to podcasts, or watch movies. Try to use them when you speak. Don't forget to ask for help. If you're not sure about a sentence or want someone to check your writing, ask friends, teachers, or groups online. Tell them you were focusing on understanding basic sentence builders and ask what they think. Every mistake is a chance to learn. Don't feel sad when you make a mistake. See it as a chance to look at a basic sentence builder again and understand it better. The more you practice and use these builders, the more sure you will feel about sharing your ideas well in English. Remember our main point. Anyone can learn English grammar. You showed yourself this by finishing this book. You saw that by focusing on basic sentence builders, the hard job of grammar becomes easy and even fun. With this strong start, you can now handle harder grammar, say what you mean more clearly, and really connect with others using English. If you want to do well in school, get a good job, or just enjoy English books and movies, knowing basic sentence builders will help you a lot. You are not just someone learning English grammar, you are now a builder. You know the main parts, and you can build clear, good, and meaningful sentences. Use this power. Thank you for being with us on this trip. Keep practicing, keep looking, and keep building with the power of basic sentence builders. The world of English is now more open to you than ever before. Keep learning and have fun.